Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Deandra Levon, and I am so glad that y'all are here because we are about to talk about Taylor Hale, y'all. She is the first black female to win the TV show Big Brother, and she's also won the biggest prize out of anybody ever on the show. She won $800,000. She's just everything. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna do a pre-poo and chat with you guys. This is something new that I'm trying, but I feel like certain things I just need to talk to y'all about. So we're gonna do that while I pre-poo my hair. Alright, so like I said, Big Brother is a TV show, and this is the 24th season of the show. I had seen people tweeting about Big Brother, but I don't know. I just never felt like it was something that I would be interested in. It was just never something that looked, I don't know, appealing to me. And I really had no idea what the show was even about. The reason why I found Big Brother was because I was just on Twitter and I kept seeing people talk about this girl named Taylor and how badly she was being treated. And it was like, you know, a bunch of clips that were going around just showing her crying, and just, I don't know, it just really touched me. And I became interested and curious about, okay, what show is this? What's going on? Why are they bullying this black woman? What's going on? So I looked up the show. I already had the Paramount Plus app, so I was able to just binge watch the season. So by the time I started watching, it was already maybe 2-3 weeks into the season. So obviously I was playing catch up. So I'm starting off episode 1. Already, you know, it was a problem. So Taylor is this beautiful, tall, statuesque black woman, and she's a pageant girl. She's actually Miss Michigan, and you can just tell that she's confident, she's gorgeous. She walks in day one with a smile and a beautiful pageant walk, serving, period. And the rest of the house guests, mainly the women, are automatically threatened by her. The first episode, they do this thing where you sit around and everybody introduces themselves. Taylor lets everybody know that she was Miss Michigan, and they cut to this girl, Paloma, who is probably Taylor's biggest hater at this point, for no other reason except that Taylor is a confident, beautiful black woman. So Taylor's like, okay, yeah, nice to meet you guys. I'm Taylor. I am a pageant winner, blah, blah, blah. Paloma, they cut to Paloma's diary room, which is like her confessional. That's what they call it on other TV shows. And basically, that's when they talk to the house guests about what's going on in the house. So I guess they asked Paloma about what she thought about Taylor. And she's like, oh, I would have never told anybody that I was a pageant girl, because when I hear pageants, I just think fake. I just think people that are in pageants they just have the ability to be so fake, and I just don't like that. I would have never told anybody that. So this is day 1, y'all. Day 1, she's already calling this girl that she does not know at all fake just because she was a pageant girl. It screams, I was never pretty enough or poised enough to ever be in pageants, and so I'm jealous because this black girl was able to do it and I couldn't. That's what it's given. So, you know, the rest of the day is going on the next day, and basically the girls just feel like Taylor is not a girl's girl, whatever that means. And that's mainly just because she's not all up under them. She's not all up in their room all the time. You know, she's hanging out with everybody. She's hanging out with the guys. She's hanging out with the girls. The guys, you know, naturally gravitate towards her because she has a really cool personality. Something that I feel like I can relate to and a lot of girls can relate to. When you're just a cool girl, when you're just a cool girl, guys like to be around you. Not even like on like a flirtation type thing, but guys like to be around girls that act cool. Like, that's just a thing. And Taylor is one of those girls. But they automatically label her as a guy's girl because of that. So on the episode, they show Taylor outside. She's in a bathing suit, just being her normal, pretty, confident self. She's playing pool with the guys, you know, just hanging out. And the camera pans to the girls in the house. And they are like in the pool, just salty. They're salty because they ain't getting no attention and Taylor's getting attention. And you can just see the insecurity written all over them. Like, they dislike this girl for no reason. So they decide to form an alliance called the Girls Alliance. So a little bit of background about Big Brother for those of y'all that don't watch the show, because I know a lot of, especially black people, we don't really watch Big Brother. So I'm just gonna give y'all a little bit of background. So Big Brother is a show where 16 house guests are picked to live in a house, and basically one person gets evicted every single week. And each week they play a competition, and the winner of the competition that week wins the head of households competition. So the head of households, which they also call the HOH, after he or she wins the competition, they get to nominate 2 people for elimination or eviction. And they actually give them another opportunity called the veto competition. And in that competition, the 2 nominees along with the HOH and 3 other house guests that are chosen at random get to play in the veto competition. And if either one of the nominees wins that competition, they're able to take themselves off of the nomination block. If somebody that is not on the block wins, they could either choose to leave the nominations the same, or they could save somebody off of the block if they want to. And then if that happens, the HOH will have to then put up another person. And then on eviction night, which is every Thursday, one person gets voted out. So everybody except for the HOH votes between the 2 people that are on the block. Whoever gets the most votes for eviction goes home. That's what happens every single week in the game. So you basically have to form alliances in order to survive the game. Because if you're just like on your own, it's easy to kind of get picked off. So right now, Taylor is already on the outs with the girls. They formed this Girls Alliance, like I said, and it's all the girls in the house except for 2 girls. The house has 8 guys, 8 girls, and the Girls Alliance is 6 of the girls. They leave out this one girl who's like a lesbian. They leave her out because, I don't know, they just didn't feel like she was a girls, I guess. And then they also left out Taylor, of course. Why? Because they're haters and they just don't like her from the beginning. So Taylor is just out here on her own. She's trying to kind of form some relationships. You know, she's trying to talk to the girls. Not really getting anywhere, but she is trying. And one of the girls, which is like the head girl of the Girls Alliance, is giving high school Clique, like the mean girls, head of the mean girls. Like, that's what Paloma is. So Paloma is talking to Taylor and the rest of the girls, and she's basically like telling Taylor, like, you know, I just feel like the girls, you know, we need to stick together because those guys, like, they're already clicking up, and we need to take them out. Like, we need to start taking the guys out immediately. That's basically what Paloma is telling Taylor. She's kind of baiting Taylor to see if Taylor's a girl's girl or not. And Taylor doesn't really take the bait too much, which makes Paloma and the rest of the girls just hate Taylor even more, because they're asking her about information that the guys shared, and Taylor's like, you know, I really don't know, which was genuine. She really didn't know, but they felt like, you know, Taylor was just, I don't know, not being a girl's girl. So Taylor, again, she's trying to form relationships. She's trying to find her people, so to speak, in this house. And Monty, which is one of the other black house guests, he's a black male in the house, she, you know, she feels like, okay, this is somebody that I wouldn't mind working with. He seems like a nice enough guy. Let me just talk to him a little bit. This is the first person that she talks game or strategy to the whole season. This is like, again, week 1. And Monty actually asked Taylor, had she heard anything about Paloma? And Taylor saw this as an opportunity to maybe gain some trust with Monty and, you know, just to see if they can work together. So she gives him some information. She says, you know, I was talking to Paloma and the rest of the girls, and they are really concerned that you guys, the males in the house, are coming for the girls. So, you know, that's something that they're really like worried and paranoid about. Basically just giving him like a heads up, you know? And Monty, just because he personally likes Paloma as a person, he decides to run this information back to Paloma, the girl that hates Taylor. So he runs back to Paloma and basically is like, you know, I was just talking to Taylor and she's saying that the girls are coming for me, especially you. You're like coming for me and you're trying to take out big targets this week, and I'm one of those big targets. And Paloma, they cut to Paloma's diary room in the episode, and she's basically like, oh, so Taylor's trying to blow up my game. Okay, well, I'm not gonna let you do that. You come for me, all right, I'm gonna come back for you, basically. So Paloma turns on her acting skills, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a complete lie. Why would I be coming for y'all? Like, she just completely made that up. I never even talked to Taylor. Like, we've never had that conversation, which is a complete lie. So not only does she tell Monty this, she tells the rest of the guys. She goes around a Taylor hate campaign, basically. Tells all the guys, goes back, tells the girls. I mean, she's just throwing Taylor's name under the bus entirely. Basically making Taylor out to just be a huge liar. So instead of Monty, the other black male in the house, instead of him going back to Taylor and being like, hey, you know, Paloma is saying that conversation never happened, like, what's up? Instead of doing that, he just assumes Paloma must be telling the truth. The non-white person must be telling the truth over this black woman that I'm in the house with. And he feels like this simply because Paloma cried and really laid it on thick that she would never say that, and she's just so upset that Taylor would ever lie on her like this and blah blah blah. He just goes along with it. He's even in his own diary rooms just saying like, why would you just lie like that? Like, why would Taylor just lie to me? Like, of course we're gonna see this later. Like, he never even considers the fact that maybe Paloma lied and maybe you're just running along with it when it's not even true. He doesn't even consider that. So this happens, and the Taylor hate train that was already basically running is now really, really running. So the whole house thinks Taylor is a liar. Daniel, a guy named Daniel, he's the current head of household at the moment. He had nominated 2 other people, but one of them, Michael, who's like a competition beast, he ends up winning the veto, takes himself off the block. So now Daniel has to put somebody else on the block. And of course, Paloma has gotten to Daniel and done her little Taylor hate spiel and tells him that basically the whole house wants Taylor out. So you better put Taylor on the block. So that's what Daniel does. Even though he was actually cool with Taylor, he decides to go along with everybody else, puts her on the block. And they have like a ceremony every week when they have like the veto ceremony, and they give like a little reason for why they're putting somebody on the block. Daniel was like, Taylor, I'm putting you on the block because it seems that you have rubbed people the wrong way in this house, and this might be an opportunity for you to apologize for some of the things that you've said. Now, mind you, Taylor has no idea that any of this has been going on. She has no idea that Paloma has gone around the house calling her a liar. She has no idea that the house dislikes her right now. She doesn't know anything. So obviously she's very distraught by this. She's very sad. She's very upset. She tries to find out, okay, like, what is going on? And the girls kind of let her know, like, yeah, Paloma said that you lied. And Taylor is like, what? Like, this is just a misunderstanding. Like, I didn't lie. So she goes to Monty, tells Monty, you know, like, I'm not lying, basically. Monty kind of realizes that he might have jumped the gun, but at this point, he's kind of like riding with the whole Paloma thing because he feels stupid. So she goes, tries to talk to Paloma. Paloma basically is like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it. Like, Paloma tries to make it seem like, oh, people just don't like you because you said you were a pageant girl, which is a lie. So Taylor is really, really sad. Like, she doesn't really fully understand what's going on. Paloma ends up spiraling during this week. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. She's kind of just struggling a lot in the house. And personally, I feel like a lot of that is because she feels bad about her treatment of Taylor. Like, she knows she did Taylor really, really wrong. And she knows that everybody's going to see it because Big Brother is a show that has 24-hour live feeds, which means even when the show is not on, you can tune into the live feeds and constantly see what they're doing at all times. You can see all the conversations that they have. And Paloma, I think, is realizing, like, okay, I'm gonna look really, really bad when I come out of here. So she starts to panic. She panics so much that she ends up self-evicting from the house. Essentially, that means that she quits the game. And that actually saves Taylor from having to go through the elimination and all that. She didn't even have to go through the vote, or it was actually like they were gonna do like a little twist competition, but she didn't even have to do it because they had already sent somebody home. Well, they didn't send her home, but Paloma had sent herself home. So there was no reason to have an eviction that week. So Taylor and the person that she was sitting next to, which was Terrence, another black house guest, an older black house guest. It is not lost on me that 2 of the first house guests that were nominated on eviction night were black people. That's not lost on me. But anyways, I digress for now. They're both saved, and the next week comes. And again, everybody still hates Taylor. The one guy that ends up, he gets a whole like name for himself. His name is Pooch. and they end up calling him, they end up like using his name as a verb called pooching yourself, because he nominates himself to go on the block because he hates Taylor that much, and he really feels like, oh, if I'm up against Taylor, like, I'm definitely gonna stay. But his dumb self, everybody realizes like, okay, but you're a much bigger threat than Taylor is, so we're gonna just evict you. So he goes up on the block next to Taylor, thinking for sure that he's gonna stay because everybody dislikes Taylor, and they end up voting him out. It was like 12-0. It was a unanimous vote. Like, it was hilarious. Anyways, that was week 2. And, you know, the next few weeks go on. Everybody's still kind of hating Taylor. I think one of either the next week or the week after that, there's this situation where Taylor's bestie Nicole, who's actually the other girl that was left out of the Girls Alliance. So her bestie is Nicole, and basically Festy Besties was just like a twist that the show added in that required all the house guests to pair up with somebody, and they played those next few weeks as a pair. So Taylor's Festy Bestie is Nicole. Nicole hates Taylor just like everybody else. And we believe that production called Nicole in to the diary room and basically told her that the bullying of Taylor is not a good look, and like they need to do better, or she needs to do better. And we think that happened because as soon as Nicole comes out of her diary room, she's just crying. She's sad. Daniel, her best friend, goes in there to talk to her, and they're just talking about Taylor. So that leads us to believe that whatever the diary room talked to her about had to do with Taylor. And they're just like, Taylor's just really bad for our game. Like, I just really want her out. Daniel's like, yeah, she's upsetting you, which is upsetting me. So we need to get her out. So mind you, they're both two in the bedroom by themselves. The rest of the house guests notice that Nicole is sad, but they really don't know why. Nicole's mom is really sick, and so they start to speculate that maybe it has something to do with her mom. Maybe that's what the diary room told her. You know, they're just guessing. Taylor, you know, she's very worried because this is her bestie, and genuinely she's just a really nice, sweet person. So she's worried about Nicole at this point. She asks Monty, the dude that spread the lies about her, she asked him to actually pray for Nicole. And in the episode, it was so crazy because they're showing Taylor and Monty praying for Nicole, and then they'll switch to Nicole talking crap about Taylor. Like, it was just so... these people are just so evil. So anyways, eventually Taylor goes back into the room to check on Nicole. And Nicole is like, you know, still pretty sad. And Taylor is trying to like find out what's wrong, but Nicole isn't really giving her much. So Taylor just tries to offer support. And she says, you know, I know we're festy besties, but if you have to go home and take care of yourself or take care of whatever is going on, don't worry about me. Like, don't think about me in that moment. She's literally just being very selfless and very nice and supportive. But Nicole is like, oh, well, I don't quit. Like, that's not even an option for me. I don't quit. And Taylor's like, oh, you know, but sometimes, like, you have to give up. Sometimes there's things that are more important than a game. Essentially saying, you know, don't feel bad about going home to take care of your mom or whatever you have to do, whatever you have to take care of. But Nicole takes this completely wrong. She just, again, looking for some reason to be mad at Taylor because she got fussed at about being mean to Taylor. So she storms into the back bathroom, and there's like Daniel back there and a few other house guests, including Terrence. the other black older male that is in the house. That's going to be important in a second. So Nicole storms back there. Daniel's like, you know, what's wrong? And she's like, I just don't tolerate disrespect. I don't tolerate passive aggressiveness from people. And, you know, she's like, Taylor basically told me, if you need to quit, you can quit. Like, basically telling me that I should just give up and quit. Like, why would she say that to me? And Daniel, who's like Nicole's little, I don't know, guard dog, I guess, whatever you want to call him, immediately gets riled up. Immediately gets mad. And he's going off about Taylor and, oh, she's just this and that and all types of whatever words. Taylor, she has no idea any of this is going on. She doesn't even know that Nicole is upset. So she has her bag of Lay's. It's like a running joke. She always has her Lay's. The actual company Lay's is like endorsing her and everything. Like it's a whole thing. But anyways, she walks back to the bathroom with her Lay's. And Nicole automatically, as soon as she steps back there, Nicole is snarky. And she goes, chips before a workout. And it's like, it's just giving insecurity. It's giving jealousy because Taylor has an amazing body. You can tell she works out. You can tell she takes care of herself. And the fact that you want to bring up that she's about to eat chips before she works out, it's like, all right, girl. Your jealousy is showing. But Taylor, again, she's super sweet. She don't even think much of it. She barely even responds to it. She keeps talking. Here goes Daniel. Just stop. And Taylor is like, it's like literally an iconic moment of the whole season. Because Taylor's like holding the chips and she's like, with the Lay's? And he's like, no, with your fake BS. Like, I mean, it was just so uncalled for. He's like, with your fake BS. Taylor, at this point, she thinks he's joking. Like, she does not think that anything is actually wrong with Daniel. She thinks he's just joking. And she's like, yeah, you're right. I'm such a fake person, blah, blah, blah. She's laughing about it. And he's like, yeah, you are. And I don't ever want to speak to you again I don't want to ever speak to you again until finale night. And Taylor still thinking it's a joke. She's like, so you're going to take me to finale night? That's so nice of you. And then he just like kind of goes off on her. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was very aggressive. He got all up in her face. And it was at this moment that Taylor realizes, like, okay, nobody else around is laughing. And this man is getting real aggressive. She's like, okay, this is getting really intense now. And he's just like, don't ever talk to me. How dare you do that to Nicole and Paloma? Da, 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 da. And he storms out. And Taylor is like, is he serious? I thought he was joking. And, you know, the rest of them are just sitting in there like little spineless amoebas, didn't stand up for her at all, including the black male that was in there. Let this man, this white male, scream in this black woman's face. He said nothing. And they're just like, yeah, I think he's serious. And Taylor's like, okay, Nicole, like, did I do something? Like, is there something I should know? And Nicole, again, another spineless amoeba. She did all that when Taylor wasn't around. But now that Taylor's in her face, she's just like, you should just talk to Daniel. Like, I don't know, just talk to Daniel. So Taylor's like, okay, so let me just go out here and talk to Daniel. She walks into the living room. Daniel is there talking crap about Taylor to the rest of the house guests. And Taylor walks up to him and she's like, Daniel, what did I... He don't even let her finish the sentence before he starts going off on her. You think I'm gonna let you do to Nicole what you did to Paloma? You think you're not the reason why Paloma went home? I'm not gonna let you do that to Nicole. And Taylor is just like, you can tell that she's just so hurt by this statement. Like, her whole face is just distraught and she's about to cry. And she's like, that's not fair. Like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I don't even know what I did. And the other people that are out there. They're just like, Taylor, just give him some space. So she walks away. And none of them stood up for her in the moment. But a couple of them were like, you know, I was in the room when Nicole and Taylor were talking, and I didn't feel like Taylor was being malicious. She was trying to just offer support, you know, to Nicole. And Daniel was just like, he could tell he just didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to admit that he was wrong. He didn't want to admit that Taylor actually didn't do anything. He's still just mad. He's like, no, I don't want to hear it. So at this point, Taylor is so sad. She's crying. Like, everybody watching the show, like, our hearts are just breaking for her because she didn't even do anything. She didn't do anything to deserve this treatment, and they just hated her from jump. So fast forward a little bit of time, and eventually the bullying of Taylor has gotten out of control. Everybody on Twitter is calling out CBS, like, why are y'all allowing this to go on y'all's TV show? And I guess CBS eventually started to feel the pressure because they began to call the house guests in one by one and let them know what the optics were looking like outside the house. And you could kind of tell this happened because one day they're ostracizing Taylor, and it's like overnight, it seems like they start talking about, oh, we're noticing the treatment of Taylor and we don't want to contribute to that. It was just like, yeah, okay, now y'all don't want to contribute to it. Like, we know something happened. So they end up forming an alliance called the Leftovers, and they bring Taylor in, and they kind of make it seem like they created the Leftovers alliance as like retribution, I guess, for Taylor. They created it as a safe space for Taylor, so to speak. And so it's a 7-person alliance. Taylor's in it. We're happy because now Taylor is finally not playing alone. Because we knew that if she didn't get into an alliance soon, she was going to be probably going home soon. So now she's in this alliance. But she's still kind of at the bottom of the alliance. Like, even though they're saying that they're protecting her, it still seems very performative. You know, they give a speech before they eliminated one of the girls, basically saying like Taylor has been bullied and we shouldn't be doing that, essentially. And it just gives, we want to be seen as good people, and we realize that we look bad, so let's try to fix our image. Like, that's what it was giving. And that only lasted for a little bit because soon after they were back to kind of throwing Taylor under the bus, you know, using her as a pawn, that sort of thing. So skip through a bunch of the weeks. Basically, Taylor is on the block 5 times on eviction night, never goes home. Every single person that she sits beside ends up going home instead of her. She ends up getting, every person that was ever against her ends up going home. And it's so crazy that people on Twitter literally were talking about Taylor's karma. Like, that was like a hashtag, Taylor's karma. Because that's literally what it felt like. Anybody that had wronged Taylor ended up getting evicted. And we loved to see it. We were happy. So fast forward, we're just gonna fast forward to like the end of the show, basically the last few weeks of the show. So there's only 4 people left, and they're all leftover members. It's Taylor, Monty, the guy from the beginning that started the hate train. It's Taylor, Monty, Turner, and Brittany. So Brittany is one of her close allies throughout the game. Turner is one of Monty's close allies throughout the game. So on that HOH, Taylor ends up winning, and Monty ends up winning the veto. So ultimately, since there's only 4 of them, Monty gets to decide who ends up going to final 3. He's the only vote that's gonna get casted. So Taylor, because you know she's closest to Brittany, she wants Monty to bring Brittany to the final 3. But Monty, because he's closest to Turner, he wants to bring Turner. So around this time, Taylor and Monty kind of start a little fling. Can't really call it a full showmance. They call like romantic relationships on Big Brother showmances. But for this, it really wasn't a showmance. Like, it wasn't like Taylor really liked Monty like that. Monty's very misogynistic. Taylor is very much a feminist. It was never going to work. But it was more of a physical thing. Not going to go too deep into that, but they had some physical chemistry. We'll leave it at that. So they had their moments a few times in the HOH room. They got really intimate. They got really close. But ultimately, Monty still ends up cutting Brittany and keeping Turner. But now he is promising Taylor that he's going to go to the end with her. Now, a lot of us were not really happy with this little fling between Monty and Taylor because he talked so bad about her. I mean, he literally in the beginning of the season was saying that that Taylor was a bad representation of black women. I mean, it wasn't just like normal, I don't like her type stuff. It was just deep, horrible things. Him and the other black man. The other black man was saying Taylor is just an H word on a stroll and all this type of stuff, calling her all types of B's and this and that. Like, they just had a vitriol for Taylor. And now he's kissing on her. It just rubbed all of us the wrong way. And of course, Taylor does not really know the extent of what all Monty or any of the house guests have said about her because she's not watching the live feeds. She won't know that until she leaves the house. So anyways, Monty decides to cut Brittany. And so the final 3 is Monty, Taylor, and Turner. So Turner is noticing that, you know, Taylor and Monty are getting close, but he still is trusting that Monty is going to honor their little gentleman's deal and that Monty's going to take him to the end. So meanwhile, in the jury house, they're also discussing this stuff. So the way that Big Brother works is that after like the 5th or 6th person gets evicted, the next people after that end up going to the jury house. So they don't go home, they go to the jury house. And that jury of 9 people ultimately decides who wins Big Brother. Because at the end of the show, there's 2 house guests left, and the jury votes which one they want to win. So jury management is super, super important because you want them to vote for you at the end. And every few weeks, they show the audience some footage of the jury house just so that you can know how things are going and what their reactions are, that sort of thing. So a couple weeks before, at the final 5, one of the girls, white girls, Alyssa, had been cut. So she goes into the jury house and she's explaining to them what happened. And she tells them, like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that I was going home because Taylor had been sleeping up in the bed with Monty every night for the past like week. And it was just so unnecessary. Everybody knew that she was just doing it to be mean. And it was like, you know, I want y'all to know that this is what she was doing. And we were all concerned about this because, again, this is the jury. This is who decides who wins. And we didn't want it to be a situation where it was like, oh, Taylor is using her sex appeal, so to speak, to make it to the end, because that wasn't even the case. Taylor was literally hated from the beginning, and we didn't want this little short-term fling at the very end of the season to end up costing her the win. And it was just, I don't know, it was just sucky. And one of the guys that was in the jury house, Joseph, who was another person of color, he had a crush on Taylor, and she had a crush on him too, but they just never made it anything. And so when Alyssa said this about her and Monty sleeping in the same bed, I mean, he was just crushed. And we're just like, oh my God, did she just lose Joseph's vote? Did she lose the girls' votes in here? Like, we're kind of like worried at this point. So they flip back to in the house. Again, Taylor and the people that are inside the house don't know that any of this has happened, because they don't know what's going on in the jury house. Taylor, Monty, and Turner at the final 3. That brings us to the finale episode, which just aired on Sunday. So the finale is a 3-part competition, and the winner of part 1 goes on to part 3, and then the other 2 battle it out in part 2 to go on to part 3. And the final part of the HOH is those two, the winner of part 1 and the winner of part 2, battle it out for that final head of household. And that person decides who they take the final to. So it's super, super important. So all the Taylor fans, which is like everybody, we're all on pins and needles because we're like, Taylor has to pull out this win. Turner ends up winning part 1. So now it's Monty and Taylor in part 2. And Taylor barely loses to Monty in part 2. It was like 23 seconds was the difference. So she loses. And so now Monty and Turner are going to go head to head. Monty has already told Taylor that she's going to bring him to final. Monty's already told Taylor that he's going to bring her to final 2, but we're all still a little skeptical because he's just been so sketchy throughout the season. But he's our only hope, because we know that Turner is going to take Monty to final 2. So we're all rooting for Monty to win this 3rd part. And thank the Lord, Monty does win. And he sticks to his word. And he brings Taylor to the final 2. Y'all, this was a huge mistake for him, but it was a win for us. So during the finale, the final 2 have to answer questions from the jury, and they also have to give like their final speech, which is like their final pitch to get chosen as the winner. Monty's answers are very dry, they're very safe, boring. Taylor gets up here, she answers every question with grace, with poise. I mean, she just eats the entire thing. And her pageant skills, being able to answer questions, really, really came in handy. And in her final speech, y'all, like I might have to like insert like a small clip. I don't want to get like a copyright strike or anything, but if I don't insert a clip, y'all go and search for Taylor Hale's final speech, because it is epic, iconic. It's gonna go down in history, not just Big Brother history, but just history in general. She gets up there and she's like, you know, I've won this many competitions. He's won more competitions than me, but every single year we have the same type of winner, essentially. And this is our opportunity to vote for something bigger, y'all. She talks about how resilient she's had to be, how she had to survive through this game. She says something like, Monty might have gotten the most blood on his hands, but I bled out the most. And we were just all like, like, it was so amazing. And she just talks about how women always have to fight 10 times harder than men to get anywhere. and how her journey throughout this game was way more difficult than every single body in the house. She says, I've been called the B word more in this house than I have ever in my entire life, and I still persevered. I still carried myself with grace. I mean, she's basically calling them out without doing it in like a super accusatory way. It was masterful how she did it. And she's like, I challenge you guys. Yeah, I felt like we were watching like a presidential speech. Like it gave me Obama election vibes. Like it was crazy. She's like, I challenge you guys to do the right thing. I challenge you guys to do something different, to pick a winner that is not the typical BB winner that we always get. And she ate. There was nobody that watched that speech that would not have voted for her unless you're just a hater. Like, period. There was nothing Monty can do. She ate him up. She ate the speech up. And every single person except one person, which was Turner, he voted for Monty because that's his boy, whatever. Every other person, 8-1 vote, voted for Taylor. And it was so funny because on the finale, they have each person vote one by one. And they kind of give like a little spiel about who they're voting for without naming who they're voting for. And you could just tell by what they were saying that their vote was for Taylor. The girls were like, I'm voting for the person that represents me. I'm voting for the person that's gonna finish what I couldn't finish. Like Joseph is like, I'm voting for the face of this season. Like it was just clear watching it at that moment that Taylor had won, and it was just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment in TV history. And not only did she win the $750,000 that the first place winner gets, but she also won America's Favorite Player, which is voted on by the viewers. The person that was America's Favorite Player gets $50,000. So she ended up winning $800,000. So not only was she deemed the best player by her fellow house guests that played the game with her, but America let her know that she was our favorite person in the entire house. And she's the only person to win both the season and America's Favorite Player. Not to mention, she's the first black woman to ever win. Last season, we had our first black winner, which was Xavier, and he did that with the Cookout Alliance, which again was another great season. I went back and watched that one. It was amazing. But Taylor did this without having an alliance until like week 4. And they still didn't really like her that much. Like, she had to persevere through so much, and it's just such a representation of what women, but especially black women, have to endure in general in America. I always keep saying that Big Brother is just a microcosm of America. When they see a confident, beautiful black woman, they're threatened by it. They don't really like to see black women in a happy space, in a confident space. It's like a, how dare she feel good about herself? Like, they're not used to it. They're not used to feeling inferior to us. And when a black woman is just naturally that girl, just on their own, without having to do too much, they don't know what to do with that. They really don't. And this season just showed it. And for all of the people that have been watching Big Brother, which is not me, but I do know that prior to last season, CBS would only cast 1 to 2 black people every season, which was ridiculous. And they would always get voted off really, really early, from what I've noticed on Twitter, is what they've said. And last season was the first season that CBS actually implemented a new rule that 50% of the people casted would be people of color. And they've done that on all of their shows. Survivor, this show, like they're just doing that. It's like an initiative that they're doing across their channel, which is an amazing initiative. But it just shows once they do that, we actually win. Once they implement a 50% person of color rule, we win AFP 3 times in a row. I didn't watch Davon's season, but she won America's Favorite Player that season. Tiffany won it last season. Taylor won it this season. And then back-to-back actual season winners in Xavier and Taylor. Like, you can't make it up. And they said the Survivor winner was also black. So it's just like, that just shows you what happens when you put us in the running. Like, if you give us the opportunity, we win. Because black people in general, we're just resilient people. We work hard. We have to carry ourselves with grace at all times. We're always misunderstood, especially black women. They always assume that we're cocky, or another woman, they'll call her confident. But if it's a black woman, oh, she's arrogant. Another woman, they'll call her assertive. If it's a black woman, oh, she's bossy. Oh, she's a B. It's just like the double standards that we have to endure that other people don't have to endure. And that's why Taylor's story, her arc on this season was so huge and means so much to us, and why I had to do a whole entire video on this. And I've been talking for like an hour because it just is that important, it's that iconic, and I'm just so happy for her. I'm happy for black women. This is a win for black people in general. This is a win for women in general. Like, it's a win. And I'm just really glad that I was able to see it. I'm glad that other black women were able to see it. I'm glad that other black girls were able to see it. And the fact that they said that Taylor wasn't a good representation of black women is just laughable. She carried herself with way more grace than any of them did or would in that same position. She carried herself with more grace than a lot of us would have, because a lot of us would have given them a piece of our mind. I'm just saying. But she was so nice and graceful, and a lot of that was because she knew the optics of her as a black woman, and she didn't want to give them that satisfaction of being able to say that she was the angry black woman. And that's only something that we have to worry about. White women, other people of color, don't have to worry about that. Black women have to worry about that. Black men too, but specifically black women. And she didn't give them that. All she gave them was poise and grace and just her genuine, sweet self. She literally won Miss Congeniality in her pageant because of how nice she is. And yet they called her cold and condescending and rude, and she rubbed people the wrong way. And it's like, no, that was just y'all. That was just your own projection. That was just your own insecurity, your own jealousy, your own hate and disdain for black women, including the black men on there that were anti-black and hated the black women and preferred the ambiguous non-black women over Taylor. We see you. But yeah, so Monty got second place. He got $75,000. Whoop de whoop. At least we had a final 2 that was 2 black people. We're happy about that. But ultimately, we would not have been satisfied unless it was a win by Taylor. And that's what we got. And that is why she is mother. That is why we stand her. And that is why she is going to go down in history as the best Big Brother winner ever. And I haven't even seen all the episodes, and I know she's the best. Period. Alright, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching this episode. Let me know your comments down below. Let me know, do you watch Big Brother? Did you watch this iconic season? Let me know your thoughts in general. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up because that really helps my video to spread to more people and helps me to get more reach. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to join the clique by hitting that subscribe button. We're still on our way to 1,000 subbies, but we're gonna be there really soon. I would love for you to join the family. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.